Welcome back, everyone. You may have seen the news that the coronavirus is now spreading not just around China, but very heavily now into South Korea. And to help us understand what's really happening with that, we're here today at CPAC with Dr. Jung-Min Kim, and he's the chairman of strategy with Dawn of Liberty. And so, Doctor, it's a real pleasure having you on Crossroads.
Nice to meet you, yeah.
And so, why don't you tell us what exactly is happening right now? We understand there's more than 800 cases as we speak now of the coronavirus in South Korea, correct?
Yeah, right. I also want to take part in this CPAC conference 5 days ago. At the time, the number of people who were infected were just 900. But now it's already 3,000 people within 5 days. And the number of people really is getting increased more and more. So actually, I'm really surprised. And then I want to know that how it is possible. Because Korea is not developing country. We have quite a good immune system and the prevention epidemic is quite excellent.
It's a very, very advanced country, yeah.
But actually, it is impossible how it happened. And then whenever I investigated about that problem, we saw that our government really have quite close relations with China. That's the reason they allowed Chinese tourists or students, even who come from Wuhan city, allowed enter into Korea.
So the government in South Korea is openly allowing even people from Wuhan, the epicenter of the virus in China, to enter South Korea. Is this accurate?
Yes. Before, I don't remember, but approximately 3 weeks ago, 12,000 Chinese who come from Wuhan city directly enter into Korea.
They're actually coming directly from Wuhan, which is on heavy lockdown right now by the Chinese Communist Party directly into South Korea. Are they not stopping them? Are they not screening them?
Yeah, it was already issued, and many world people are afraid about that. But only Korean government thought that it is okay.
And why would they think it's okay?
Actually, I wanted to find why they behave like that, and then I found quite interesting that their background of education was very interesting. Most of Moon administration officers came from socialism student movement in 1980s.
Okay, so let's explain something. So, if you've been following the news, you know that the Chinese Communist Party is completely locked down Wuhan. They have more than 80 cities on lockdown. Wuhan more than any of them. And anyone from Wuhan who travels to any other part of China is being, closely monitored, quarantined, you name it. The government in South Korea is openly allowing people directly from Wuhan, the epicenter of the virus,
now
the worst
they
place
closed,
it is,
but
go
it's
directly
already late,
in. So they closed it now, but they already let them in.
Yeah.
And you're saying now you've looked into the backgrounds of the government officials who let them in and found that they were part of these student socialist movements in the 80s.
They studied Maoism and socialism and Leninism. I think they really liked Chinese communists because in 2017, one of the political leaders of our government entered into China, and then she took part in Chinese political party movement. And she also made a speech there. And she said that we support the Chinese one-way, one-route policy, and we hope that China can keep world peace. And we support Xi Jinping's foreign policy, etc., etc.
And so you're saying that the government in South Korea has come out openly saying that they support the Chinese Communist Party in its form of government. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And even now, we have such kind of difficulty, and almost 100% Korean against their foreign policy. Our government still try to make a good relations, and whatever Chinese government say, we follow. And now we also have lots of people who were infected by Wuhan virus, so we need lots of masks. But our government, they monopolize the mask and export to China. So we have a shortage of masks.
Despite the fact that, as you said, before CPAC, we're here at CPAC now on the last day. Before I left for CPAC, there were more than 800 cases in South Korea. Now there are, how many thousand? You say 3,000, 5,000 now?
Yeah, right. 3,000.
3,000? Yeah. 1,000 cases in one day confirmed now. And facing this now, they're sending the masks manufactured in South Korea into China, not giving them to South Koreans?
Yeah, and then many Korean people complained about that. So now I read some article which was published yesterday, and then our government said that, okay, if our people don't like about that, we will not give masks to China. Instead, we will send money to China. But we need actually that money. We don't have enough budget actually. And now our government asked more budget from the Korean people, it means that we have to increase our tax. So why we have to work like this? Our government, our president must take care of Korean people first, then Chinese people. But unfortunately, our government really care about the Chinese people first.
Well, this is interesting now from a few different perspectives. Well, I guess first up, let's talk about one thing and we'll jump into more details. But now I heard a rumor, maybe you can confirm it, maybe you can deny it, but I heard that the South Korean government, when it opened the borders to the Chinese people coming from Wuhan, it told the South Koreans that we need to suffer with China. Did that actually happen?
Yeah, I also heard such kind of rumor. Well, now I cannot share clearly, and actually I also need to go back to Korea, so I cannot tell about that one.
And the other question is why would South Korea be supportive of the Chinese Communist Party to this extent? Because now, I mean, I've written before, I've actually done a pretty long investigative article exploring the history of South Korea and exploring some of the different claims that people have made, alleging that socialism had infiltrated South Korea. And I was actually very shocked to hear that, because in Western perceptions, South Korea seems like a very modern, very capitalist type society. The idea that they would have socialist values is unheard of. And the people seem to have very conservative values still. Is this not the case?
Actually, almost 90% of Koreans are capitalists, and they really like capitalism and the freedom democracy. But in our government, officers are really different, because whenever we searched their education background, they were activists of socialism when they were university students. And they always had the anti-American movement. And then whenever they grew up and became politicians, there are some kind of suspicion that they had some kind of financial relations with the Chinese Communist Party. Because I found that some of the politicians' relatives or younger brother who has a business relation with China.
Business relations.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar. I think we've seen that in the U.S. as well. So you're saying that some of the politicians currently in South Korea who are making these decisions, who are saying we need to get closer with the Chinese Communist Party and work with them more closely, and seem to be putting the interests when facing this virus of China over their own people. When you've had 1,000 cases, new cases confirmed in a single day of the virus, which means it's spreading rapidly, it seems now, that not only do they have backgrounds of being part of these student socialist movements, but they have family members who have business ties with China. Is that accurate?
Yeah, right. And I think they also want to make a more close relation with China. And China already failed in Hong Kong and Taiwan. And we have an election in April. So for Chinese Communist Party, South Korean election is a final hope to protect China. That's the reason they're really concerned about our election. That's the reason I think they want to do or manipulate something, because our government looks like let's spread this epidemic.
You're saying it appears based on government action that they're allowing the virus to spread, that maybe this is coordinated? That sounds like a pretty serious claim. How would you explain that?
This is some kind of my private conspiracy theory, because now, because of epidemics, our government want to delay or cancel our next election. And actually people cannot collect in the same place. Actually, many Korean people are afraid of a public place.
And so was it the case that, so the South Korean elections are coming up, they let in all these Chinese from Wuhan, the epicenter of the virus. You have now a massive outbreak. Between 5 days, it went from 800 cases to more than 3,000 cases. The government does not seem to be controlling the outbreak. They're sending masks, which would help contain it, supposedly, not to the Korean people, but into China. And you believe that they're doing this to prevent large-scale gatherings, which would also delay the election.
Just 1 month left, and if we have an election in April, they know that they cannot win in this election, because really many Korean people get angry about that. We have a recession, and the rate of unemployment is really high, and many people already lost the house, and many Korean companies are bankrupt. So in this situation, how they can win in this election? That's the reason I think they want to use this epidemic to delay or cancel this election. Actually, they also want to cooperate with the Chinese Communist Party, because it is a good opportunity for them to make perfect socialism state in my country. Because now they want to use 5G and IT technology they want to control whole of Korean people. For example, they already tried to make some kind of application. So if you are infected or have some kind of suspicion, government asks you to download the application. So if you download and log in, they know where you are, even you turn off the mobile phone. So our government wants to control whole Korean people now.
So this is interesting. And this is interesting in context of China. Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm a senior investigative reporter at the Epoch-Times. I've been studying Chinese subversion operations in the United States since 2008, including its United Front operations. And of course, this has led me into some of the research on their social control systems in China, including the social credit system and how they're exporting these high-tech systems of totalitarianism into other countries, mainly through the One Belt, One Road initiative. It would only make sense that if South Korea is praising the China model of government, which is what they call it, that they would be interested in the same forms of high-tech monitoring of citizens that China has. This is what you feel they're doing with the coronavirus?
Yeah.
So you feel that they're using the coronavirus as almost like a Trojan horse to delay the elections on one side, and two, to implement different forms of technologies for social control on the other. Is that accurate?
So they can take two advantages. First, they can delay election, and second, they can create a totally controlled system. And that's the reason I think such kind of epidemics really give quite a good motivation for them to create such kind of a digital Leninism.
Digital Leninism.
Yeah, Korean people usually say digital Leninism.
I guess just a last question. If you were to communicate one thing to Americans right now about what South Korea is facing and why we should really care about what's happening in South Korea right now with the coronavirus, because everyone's focused on the coronavirus. They're focused on whether this is spreading. They're not thinking about how the coronavirus could be weaponized by a government and used as a Trojan horse to accomplish other goals.
First, Korean people can enter into America easily. Whenever Korean people want to take a visa, enter into America is not so difficult. So if many Korean people are infected and enter into America, what will happen? Still, America is okay in my opinion, but actually we don't know in future because yesterday 1,000 Koreans were infected. I don't know how many Koreans will be infected in today. So this is really one problem. And second, our government really issue our Korean passport to Chinese or Korean who was born in China. So actually, I read some kind of criminal report in Australia and America, many places. But whenever I actually investigated about that, they were not born in South Korea. He has a Republic of Korean passport, but he was born in China.
And so in other words, they're telling the Korean people that the people they're letting in from Wuhan are actually South Koreans who were living in China, but you said researching has shown otherwise, that these individuals are Chinese, born in China, and were not Koreans, as opposed to what the government's been telling you.
They are doing some kind of citizen laundry. It's
citizenship laundering.
Yeah, that's the reason it will be a future threat to American people because Korean people can easily enter. And I'm really afraid that we have a good relation with the American, but if such kind of thing happen in America quite often, who knows? Korean people will be prohibited to enter. So I'm really afraid of such kind of situation.
Doctor, real pleasure having you on Crossroads. Have to have you on again sometime.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Everyone, please remember, like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, click the notification bell, know when we get the updates. See you next time.